Good morning, hello, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from. We're here again for a deadline stream. Game week 4 already, guys. Just seems to be flying by, doesn't it, really? A month of football already played almost. But yeah, looking forward to the stream today. If any of you have watched my team selection video, though, you'll know I'm not really planning on any changes. So a little bit of a very similar to game week 1, really, and just there's not going to be much happening really. But we'll talk about a few things, and if you've got bench headaches or any questions, then we'll go through. But yes, guys, here we are. Here's a team. So, as mentioned in my team selection video, really, I think Mason Mount and Saka really are the two that are on the thin ice for this week. So we'll have to keep a close eye on both of those and see where we end up for game week 5. But I think both of them really they've got to produce something now, surely. Yeah, I think I'm pretty confident with Mo Salah as captain as well. I don't think at this point I'll be swapping to anybody either. I'm still a little bit, I don't know, I can't say salty, but I definitely feel like a little bit hard done by last week with that Salah last minute goal. That's yeah, I thought Jesus overall put in a much better performance to justify his captaincy, but it happens, I guess. Hi Patrick, do you think Rodrigo is at risk when Bamford returns? I'm not necessarily sure that he's at risk. All I would say on that is I think his positions in terms of where he's getting may adjust slightly, right? Because he's kind of playing out of position, really. He's playing as that striker role, but obviously categorised as a midfielder. So I think it might continue, to be honest. The reason I personally just haven't gone for him this week is I think Brighton defensively will maybe cause a few more problems to Leeds, but they're such an unpredictable team, Leeds. They come out and you know, they work so crazily hard that sometimes it doesn't matter how good the defence is, they still find goals, right? So I still think he's a great option, even when Bamford returns, mate, to be honest. Have you already transferred him in, just out of curiosity, or are you thinking about bringing him in? Okay, Patrick, understood. Yeah, I think I mentioned it on my watch list, really. I think Harrison is a good alternative to Rodrigo, but I wouldn't say I think his returns are going to be as much over the next, say, 4 or 5 weeks. I think that he looks great on set pieces, Harrison. I think he's going to be more on the assists rather than goals, though. If you have a look at that video, if you haven't watched it already, I've got some heat maps of both players. And you can clearly see that Rodrigo's in the areas that you want basically a midfielder to be that's out of position, because you're getting 5 points per goal, right? So if you have a look at the difference between them, Harrison really hugs the left-hand side. So he's really only causing, I guess, threat from an assist level, right? So I think Rodrigo is the better option. Lookman, hi, I'm thinking of getting a Chelsea player, but no one knows who is assisting or going to score with this Chelsea team. Who should I get? It's a very good question. I think it's still a wait and see on this week. I'm obviously, as you can see, I've got Mason Mount in the team from an attacking point of view, but I've had him since game week 1. So that wasn't any kind of knee-jerk or any transfer in. I just went with 2 8 million midfielders from the beginning, as I like that price point a lot. If you watch me in any of the pre-season videos, I feel like those two were the kind of standout options for me, but neither have properly returned yet, right? So I think Mason Mount could do some damage to Leicester. He just doesn't seem to be ticking yet. I like the look of Sterling, but again, it depends. As an isolated pick, it's difficult in terms of price point. So I think that Sterling will come good. I do think Mason Mount will come good at some point. I would just say for now, maybe look elsewhere in your team for upgrades if you're looking at a transfer this week. Hi Pranav, yeah, I think I'm going to stick with Mount, as just mentioned there. I think that only for this week, though. I think going into game week 5 without any transfers on the board this week, that's one of the reasons why I didn't really want to react so abruptly to the Rodrigo transfer, for example, because I won't be able to use the money this week anyway. I don't think necessarily he's going to outscore Mount against possibly, arguably really good defence in Brighton. So I don't see the value in transferring that 1 week early. I could have missed the price drop and the price rise, but value this early isn't too much of a concern for me. I just think against Leicester, it looks like a good fixture on paper for Chelsea. So it's his last week for me in the team personally, but we'll see. Hi, Fazda, mate. Have any of you gone with a different captain to Mo Salah? Any reasons why you've done it, or any question marks over who you should captain? Throw that into the mix as well if you want. We'll have a chat about that. Pranav, thanks. What are the possible swaps for Mount in the future? Personally, for me, I think that, again, in my video yesterday, we can probably switch to that actually. On OBS, I might have some of the main recording data still here. So let me just go through the fixtures here. So these are the attacking fixtures on screen from game weeks 5 to 8, right? So really, Mason Mount you can go to quite a few players from these teams within that attacking fixture bracket across these 4 weeks. So you've got Man United, so you can easily go to Sancho, you could go to Rashford, depending on their performance today, maybe against Southampton. Maybe we want a little bit more data first. You've got Zaha for Palace. You can even go as low as Eze if you want to free up some money. For Manchester City, you've got Gundogan, Phil Foden, although he's possibly out of favour a little bit with Pep. So there's plenty of options. And then Leeds at the bottom there for Rodrigo. And this is arranged by Fantasy Football Scout's fixture ticker. So this is showing you essentially the top team in Bournemouth in terms of the fixtures for their attacking output versus the 6th team at the bottom, Leeds. So you can see there's a plethora of options. You could even put Trossard probably in that mix as well, right, from Brighton. So I think personally that's why, again, looking at these fixture runs, I'm not knee-jerking Mount out yet, because I think that we've got a lot of options. We can free up some money, and because we'll have that second free transfer, it gives us maybe flexibility to upgrade a defender, upgrade a striker, or upgrade somewhere else, right? So I think that's why he's a hold for now. Fazna, should I keep Cucurella or shift home to Perisic? I think Cucurella, personally, if you've got him, just keep hold of him for now. He looked really good. I mean, from an eye test perspective, he had quite a lot of touches in the final third. He was really quite far up. It's just his finishing wasn't quite there. I think we'd have a completely different conversation if Chelsea had kept a clean sheet, or if he had potentially got one of those shots on target, maybe, or got an assist, got an attack in return. So I think Perisic looks great. The only problem I've got with him, I did put him on the watch list. I just think that he's limited in terms of his minutes potentially, especially with midweek fixtures coming up, right? So I think for me, I would hold on Cucurella. Patrick, you've gone for Kane. I think that's a great fixture to target. So why not? Good luck with that. Patrick, Zaha will not play against City, apparently injured. Okay, that's interesting. We'll have to wait and see on how severe that is, because if he is, then he kind of gets taken out of the mix really from game week 5 onwards for me personally. But if it is just a 1 week, let's say a slight knock or something small, then potentially again he can come into our thinking from game week 5 onwards. And you're welcome, Pranav, mate. No problem. Hope it helped. Reese, would you do Cucurella and Perisic or James and Dunk? I prefer James and Dunk. I think they're more nailed overall. I think Fofana now is heavily linked, right, with Chelsea, I believe. And I think if that goes through, if Leicester, sell Fofana after all this saga has gone on, then I potentially see James playing at right wing back, which is where we want him potentially a lot more, which is great. And for Dunk, I think Brighton's fixtures, if you haven't already got Sanchez, that's probably where I would say is that I don't necessarily trust a double up on Brighton defence. But if you've got a different goalkeeper like Ramsdale or, Henderson or someone else, Meslier maybe, I would say, yeah, go for it. Go for the James and Dunk combination. I think just to add as well, again, on Perisic, I do like him as a pick, and he did kind of scare me last week, really. Once we knew that he was starting, it didn't surprise me that he scored that double-digit haul. But, I see certain people moving, let's say, Trippier to Perisic this week, and I just don't see the point in it. I think Wolves is a great fixture for Trippier. You've got a minute risk eventually for Perisic for the midweek fixtures next week. Trippier's more nailed. He's on direct free kicks as well, as we've seen for City against City. He can score an absolute worldie. So yeah, I just think that it puts me off still slightly with him. I think he is still a good option, bearing in mind I'm not completely, taking him off the cards, but those two in isolation I think are better. Reece, I have Sanchez, so who should I put in as centre-back? Well, I mean, centre-back in terms of FPL, right, doesn't really mean anything. So another defender, how much money have you got to spend? If it's 4.5 million exactly, then I would say it's a little bit tricky, because really for me, Saliba is a great option. I think defensively, Arsenal's fixtures look good. If we go back to my recording screen again here from the last video, we've got defensive fixtures that I can just pause here, and you can see Arsenal are on the bottom here of the list, but they are still in the top 6 of teams defensively. So you can see that Brighton are second on the list. So maybe a double up is okay, but I'm just a little bit conscious of it. There isn't really any cheap assets for City. I don't think Palace justify really a move. You could potentially go for a Leeds defender, but I would try and target maybe Arsenal. If you've got the 4.5, 4.6 million, something like that. Yeah, sure. If you want to send a picture on Twitter, I can have a look at it, mate, and we can see where we go from there. Hold on, the camera's just gone a bit blurry. Hold on. Okay, you've activated your wild card. Fine. I think, like I say, if we're looking for Reece James and then a kind of second cheaper defender option, I would say look at Arsenal as the defence. Just look at Saliba. Tomiyasu could be a little bit of a risk at this point, but he's only 4.3 million, and I think if he comes back into contention, he's going to be a very, very good route into Arsenal's defence as well. So maybe one to bear in mind. Maybe you can bench him this week and potentially bring him in next week, right? If you've got alternative options. Let's see what I've got to. What do I think of the red card issue and VAR with KDB last week? I missed that, mate. I don't know. Not sure what that. Not sure what that was. Oh, with Trippier. It's because you threw me off with KDB. Lookman, how would someone free up money to get KDB? Personally, I'm looking at downgrading Haaland. I think that as Pep has come out and said in his press conferences that come the midweek fixtures, which game week 5 is beyond, I think that he's going to be a minute's risk. So you can easily downgrade to someone like, say, Ivan Toney. I don't know what your setup is in midfield, but even if you have a cheap midfielder like a 6.5 million, you could potentially get to him that route. That's kind of my initial thinking, really. And again, another reason why I've carried the transfer over, or planning to at least, unless some news comes out before now and 11 o'clock, because it just gives me that more flexibility to downgrade Haaland and upgrade somewhere else if I feel like that's the way to do it. Patrick sell Salah, yeah. I don't think many people are going to be doing that ahead of a Bournemouth fixture, right? Bournemouth at Anfield as well, bearing in mind it's not just Bournemouth even away. It's a very favourable fixture for him. Let's have a look, Reece. Yeah, so you do have the 0.1 million. So what I'm thinking is potentially you go to Saliba for 4.6. Is he still 4.6? Let me have a look quickly. Yeah, he's still 4.6. So I think that when you look at the fixture run, okay, yes, United, it's at Old Trafford as well in game week 6 is potentially a little bit difficult. You're already wild carding, I suppose. So you've got to maybe look at least the next 4 or 5. Tottenham and United maybe a little bit difficult, but then the other fixtures here are good around it, right? So you can potentially bench him across the Liverpool and the City game, and again you've got another sea of kind of green here. I just think Arsenal defensively are looking pretty solid, to be honest, to invest in them. That would be where I go. The other options, I suppose, if we go maximum 5 in terms of defenders for 4.6. Ben Mee, I'm not sure I like that. Strouk, again, from a Leeds perspective, I don't trust them defensively enough. Ben White potentially could be a risk in terms of minutes. Rico Henry, maybe he could bring some attacking returns potentially, but I honestly don't see any more value than Arsenal at the moment in terms of the transfer. So that's my suggestion to you, bud. Hopefully that helps. Lookman, I was thinking the same. KDB always getting points while Haaland is only getting points from goals, but City whole team scores. Yeah, so the thing is that on the eye test from a KDB perspective, right, and plus his statistics, he's more of an assister. He doesn't score as many goals, but I think this season, I don't know what it is, but he's started really, really well. He looks like he's in the right places, and maybe it is Haaland as an introduction that's made him so attractive. So we've got to be careful about that, because if Pep goes back to a false 9 type formation without Haaland, he maybe falls out of favour a little bit. But anyway, I still think he's worth it. Trossard or Rashford? Oh my God, that's a close one. That is I think really it depends on your money, right? It's in isolation. I think I actually prefer Rashford because I've got the United biased, I suppose. And plus it's a little bit cheaper. But I do like Trossard as well. I think he's a fantastic player. Grealish update. Will Grealish play? Best 7.5 under or I think best 7.5 or under mid. Are we talking about just for this week? Are we talking about up into a wild card? Are you on a wild card? A little bit difficult to answer that in isolation, I think. Arnold or Jesus captain? If I didn't have Salah, I think I'd go Jesus, mate. I'd go Jesus. I think Fulham is going to be a good game. I think it's going to be close. I don't think it's going to be a walkover, but I think Jesus will be in and amongst the goals again, mate. So I'd go with Jesus. Trent, though, that being said, is definitely due some attacking returns, right? And they're due a clean sheet. Come on, Bournemouth at home. They've not kept a clean sheet in 3 games, so we'll see. Do I think it's worth getting rid of Grealish? What's his price now, mate? Let's have a look. Has he already gone down? Yeah, I mean, he's listed as a 25% chance of playing. He's already dropped to 6.9. I think if you want to keep the City midfielder, you probably go with Gundogan. As a direct replacement. I think he's but then he's 7.6, so I don't know if you can quite get to him. If not, then I would say from an attacking standpoint, if you need to make the transfer and you haven't got a bench option this week, I would say Trossard looks like a good option, or Rashford, I think, as mid-price midfielders. Lookman, when do you think I should use a wild card? Okay, so again, it goes back to the video I created yesterday. If you haven't watched that yet, I talk about it in a bit more detail, but I think really game week 9 is the optimal. We have an international break where we'll be able to gather more information, so don't pay attention to the red arrows too much. If you're getting them week after week at the moment, just trust in the team that you're selecting for now. if you're only needing to make, say, 3 transfers at the moment for a wild card, it doesn't make sense in my eyes. It should be at least 5 or 6, potentially even 7, right? That's, for me, wild card worthy. So it's very hard to say it in isolation for just you, because you know obviously what your team looks like. But I would say that if you can hold as far as game week 9, that looks to be the most optimal in my opinion. We also get some extra time to increase the value of the squad, bear in mind as well. So if you watch and monitor price rises and falls, I think Fantasy Football Hub have a tool to do that. I think FPL Statistics is another website as well, although it's a little bit temperamental. You can bring players in that are already in your thinking before they hit price rises. And same for if you're thinking about selling players before they fall in price. And that's where you can build up value. And over the international break, it could be a couple of weeks, right, before the next game. So will Bernardo play? I expect him to play, to be honest. But then it's difficult with Pep. And that's the game, the mini game that you play with holding a midfielder from City, right? I think Gundogan, out of all of them, because he's got the armband, is potentially the one that gets the most minutes. So I'm not sure. I would start Saliba over Henry. I think Fulham at home looks like a great fixture for him. Patrick sold him for Rodrigo. Fair enough, mate. I think that there's no... I still think Rodrigo could return this week. I'm obviously hoping not so, because I've got Sanchez in net. But I think long term he's still a good option as well. Archie, did he play against Barca? I don't know, mate, to be honest. Let's have a look. If I quickly have a look at who... I think he did, because I've looked at the highlights of the game and I'm almost certain I heard Bernardo mentioned. Results. Barcelona lineups. Yes, he did play, mate. It looks like he played 64 minutes and then De Bruyne come on for him. So he played at least 60, which I don't know if that helps you or not, bud, to be honest. But start Andreas or Eze. Both tricky fixtures, aren't they, really? Arsenal and City away, respectively. I would say I fancy Andreas over Eze, to be honest, for this fixture. I do like Eze from a creative standpoint. I do think that maybe he can do some damage. But Andreas is on more set pieces. So I think overall he's probably the better option out of the two. Morning, Keith. Thanks, Lookman. Appreciate it, mate. We're getting there slowly, aren't we? James, I have Saliba and Ramsdale though, so I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. I mean, the double up is potentially a little bit risky, but it's a home fixture. Fulham do look good from an attacking standpoint, but I don't know. I think Saliba's attacking threat also looks really good, right? That was a Ronaldinho-like finish. So, not sure he'll do that every week, but I mean... Yeah, in recent fixtures, Palace have done well. I'm not sure on Eze from an FPL perspective. I haven't seen enough of him, I don't think, in terms of involvement to warrant it. I know he got that assist for Zaha against Liverpool, and it was a fantastic through ball, but it's on a consistent basis. And I think, again, because of set pieces, Andreas is arguably maybe a little bit more consistent. Again, we've only seen one assist from him as well, so a little bit difficult to tell. But I think personally, I would play Andreas over Eze. But definitely going back to the double Arsenal, mate. I think with Fulham at home, it's not Bournemouth at home, right? It's not the easiest fixture, and Fulham again do look good from an attacking perspective, yeah, I just think though Arsenal are going to outmuscle them overall. Yeah, I agree. So again, if we jump to the attacking fixtures from my video yesterday, Palace are fourth on this list, mate. So I agree. I think Eze, if you've already got him, then for sure, it looks like from game week 5, Brentford, Newcastle United and Brighton looks like a great option to me. And this is, again, filtered from Fantasy Football Scout for attacking fixtures isolated between game week 5 and 8. That's if you're looking at a wild card in game week 9. That's why I chose those 4 weeks. But looks like a great option. Looks like an absolute fantastic option, I think. Phoenix, shall I replace Robbo or Walker or Neto? Got to transfer, if who to replace. Are you forced into making at least one transfer? Is that what you mean by got to transfer? Or because I think Robbo ahead of Bournemouth, you shouldn't be replacing him. I think that ultimately Liverpool are due a clean sheet, if you like, and I think attacking returns look promising for him. Walker, you could say he can become a rotation risk, so potentially you can swap him in maybe for someone like Cucurella or Zinchenko if you can stretch as far as him potentially. As for Neto, I think it's time that he goes, mate. To be honest, I think, you know, if you're looking at the similar price point, then Gross for me was the transfer, right? So I still recommend him, as I think Brighton's attacking fixtures look good. Omar, thoughts on Jensen and Gross? I think, as we've just touched on there, really, Gross I think is still a good option. It definitely, his value and overall his appeal is a little bit lower now, right? Because he's not on penalties, so we suspect if McAllister continues on that path. So it's a little bit risky maybe on him, but I still think between now and a wild card, if you haven't already activated it, that he's a hold. Jensen's a tricky one for me because on paper it doesn't look like essentially he was going to be a good FPL pick. I don't know why. It just seemed to be that he wasn't in the right places all the time, but he's picked up a couple of assists now, right? And at that price point, I think it's fair to say that we don't have to immediately get rid of him. Brentford's fixtures, again, look great from an attacking standpoint. He could easily get some assists, right, or goals, and essentially add some value to us. So I think both of them are great options. Keith, certainly getting boring this game this year. Another week of rolling transfer, 10 big hitters playing at home. It's exactly the same for me, Keith, mate. Really, I think this is the first season I've played where I haven't taken a hit yet this early on. I just don't feel that there's any need to be honest. I think because the biggest issue this season, I think, is that the game overall, I think, has tried to appeal to the masses, right? They've priced a lot of players incorrectly, and it means that we can get a lot of good names or big names that look like they could be mistakes to transfer out for the sake of just using a transfer. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it will get a little bit more spicy, I think, once more managers hit the wildcard button, Keith. I think that's when we're going to see some more differences. We'll see, though. Anything can change, right? It's football. It's so unpredictable. Yeah, good thinking as well, Keith. I think that... Do you like Rodrigo as an option, though? Because I do think that him and Harrison can potentially get us some returns. I just didn't feel forced, probably like yourself, right? I don't feel forced to make the transfer this week. They did look good against Chelsea, though. Again, it was at home. So I'm not so sure they can replicate the same at Stamford Bridge. Sorry, the Amex. You know, it's a very different different Potter team that's very well drilled, very organised. And, you know, Chelsea were missing Conte. They were missing Kovacic as well. They had no real control in the midfield. And Tuesday should be fun, plenty of rotation. Couldn't agree more, mate. Do you know what? That's, again, the kind of reasoning for, or at least part of the reason for rolling, because when you've got midweek fixtures, especially with the likes of City, like Haaland, I just feel like it's a guaranteed rotation for him. So I think it's time to get rid of him and upgrade someone else. And I think the Mount and Saka situation for me personally is because I'm giving them this last week, Haaland downgrading to someone else and then moving one of those midfielders up looks like an ideal move. Oh yeah, you went with Bamford instead of... You didn't have Jesus, did you? I can't remember. I'm pretty certain though that you went without him, right? And I think Bamford was a good call. Like, he looked really good. He looked like he was strong. He was, you know, back to full fitness. And then it's just, you know, another injury for him. It's so sad, especially on a World Cup year for him as well, because if he was in this side and how they've been performing recently, he potentially could have got a call up, right? And I think that would have been great for his confidence. But, you know, again, it's football. It's so unpredictable. You know, who would have guessed that he'd get an injury after the first few weeks? Yeah, sure. Understood. Although top four at the moment is a little bit sort of shaky, isn't it? I guess you'd go with, you know, Arsenal, Chelsea, City, Liverpool, United. But United, obviously, in terms of fixtures, well, what they've output, great performance against Liverpool, but we didn't look very good in the first two. Arsenal probably the best out of, well, Arsenal and City are probably the two best teams, right? Chelsea haven't looked very good attackingly. So, it's what I mean, I've got Pascal Gross in my team, right? I never thought that would happen, having a Brighton attacker. Maybe I would have stretched to Trossard at some point, but I don't know. It's just strange how this game works, I suppose, or strange how football works. That's interesting, Patrick. They're not actually that great defensively still, but I mean, look, I think midfield, 100%, they look like they're dominating much more of the ball and they've got much more creativity for sure. That I can definitely agree with. Even without Rafinha, they still look really good, because I was worried for them, to be honest. Once they sold him, I was a little bit kind of, you know, with someone going for Bamford like Keith did at the beginning, I was unsure about what creativity they could produce, but they look like they're doing well. Harrison stepped up, Rodrigo stepped up, so absolutely they look great from an attacking standpoint. But I still feel defensively, I don't know. Meslier's a good goalkeeper, and maybe that's, you know, partially skewing the figures slightly, but yeah, they're in the bottom half of shots conceded overall. So I don't think they're necessarily a defence that we can take seriously just yet. Yeah, Keith, I think this is last chance for Saloon for Mount, mate, for me. This is it. And I think, do you know what? Even if he returns this week, I could argue that potentially he's still going to be the person that makes way. Because if I do decide to go with someone like KDB or Son or someone else in that higher price bracket after downgrading Haaland, I still don't see myself really getting rid of Saka ahead of the attacking fixtures that Arsenal have got. But we'll see. Hi Andy, mate. Welcome from Focal. Have you been to his stream? How's he doing? Patrick, of course, Rafinha was incredible. Yeah, I mean, he was just, you know, he was the talisman, wasn't he? Let's face it. So that's why I felt that personally in pre-season, once they sold him, I thought they would struggle, but they've proved me wrong for sure. They look like a really good outfit. Sean, I have one free transfer this week. Should I transfer Neto for Harrison or anyone, or save up the transfer for next week? I do quite like that move. I think that Leeds, again, they have the potential. While we're on the topic of Leeds, I suppose, they do have the potential to score against Brighton today. I don't necessarily feel like this is the fixture to bring them in. Wolves against Newcastle, if you're forced to play Neto, Newcastle look great defensively at the moment, right? So, and he doesn't look that good from an attacking standpoint. He's also been linked with Arsenal, hasn't he? So in terms of, does he even start for Wolves? I think there's too many question marks for me. So if you can only afford Harrison and you can't go as far as Rodrigo, then I say go for it, Sean. I think even if you hold him for 4 or 5 weeks, he's got the potential to at least give a few returns, right? Much more than Neto anyway. He's been really disappointing. $20 minutes to deadline, guys. Sorry, I'm just looking to see if we've got any last minute team news or anything, but nothing that I can see at the moment. What do I think about the back line of Walker, Robertson, Perisic, Trippier? I like it, mate. I like it. Obviously, no Trent, but I still think Robbo can probably equal him. To be honest, he looked quite threatening against United, more so than Trent actually. And with a favourable fixture against Bournemouth, either of those could easily return. Walker, I think, becomes a potential rotation risk, though. I'm not 100% on him. He potentially can be coming a move out, but not against Palace. I think he's pretty nailed. Perisic, I think really it's in terms of minutes. He worries me not owning him, to be honest, on what he performed last week. He looks fantastic. A lot better than I thought he would this early on, to be honest. I thought it'd take him a bit more time. But just Spurs' fixtures as well are just a bit of a mixed bag. So I think for this week it's okay, but I'm not so sure about long term. And Trippier, I really do like him, mate. You know, he's been in my team since game week 1. I got 14 points from him in game week 1 and 2. Obviously benched him against the City game like most, but just looking great overall. Lookman captaincy on Salah or Jesus. Very close call, mate, I think, but I'm going to go with Salah on this week. I think he was really, really lucky against United to get that goal. It was just, maybe it was coming a little bit. They were on the front foot towards the back end of the game, right? But just, snatched it. But that's why he's such a good FPL asset. It's because that's what he does. Jesus could easily outscore him though, but I still think Salah gets the nod. Rodrigo and Nico Williams for Cucurella and Pereira. So are you getting rid of Cucurella and Pereira and bringing in Rodrigo and Nico? MG99, hi mate, this week I'm going for Ivan Toney, captain versus Everton. Do you think he'll carry his form and bag points? Mate, I can 100% see points against Everton side, right? They're not looking very, very good at all defensively. Do I think he's worthy of a captain, though? If you have Salah, I just think it's so risky going against the grain, right? It just, as an isolated selection, it's difficult to know who you're going against. But if you have Salah, then it's difficult. So HSN, so yes. So, okay, so I think Cucurella and Pereira, if you were going to play both of them, then I would say yes, Rodrigo and Nico Williams looks like potentially a better pairing. If you're not, though, I'm not so sure. Cucurella against Leicester is quite a good fixture, I think. Would you be benching Pereira even after the -4? Is this just for... would you be benching Nico Williams? 15 minutes to go, guys. Get that bench order, captaincy, everything locked in. Hopefully not too many last-minute headaches for you. I kind of feel similar to Game Week 2, really. I'm a little bit like, this is kind of, you know, a little bit boring, really, but hey-ho, rolling the transfers, that's what it's about sometimes. Okay, so Nico would be benched. I think Rodrigo's good long-term. I think Cucurella's good long-term. For the -4, I don't see the reasons why you'd do that. Rodrigo looks like a good option next week, so, you know, even for 4 or 5 weeks. Have you wildcarded yet? If you haven't wildcarded, I'd say just wait one more week with Rodrigo. I think a few managers have knee-jerked him in, to be honest. I personally thought, completely eat my words. I definitely said in the watch list video that for Game Week 3, I think this was, that Rodrigo's fixtures for Chelsea and Brighton looked like they were difficult on paper, and I didn't expect any returns. Obviously, he went and smashed it against Chelsea, but I think this is a week he blanks, so I just don't think it's worth doing it. Yeah, I like how 33,000 transferred in Zaha. Mate, I think that's just the thing, right? Some people, they knee-jerk so much on the points scored by players on that weekend that just... They're probably more than likely rookie players or casual, right? They're not probably taking the game seriously. Most people that play it seriously, let's say top 100,000 or top 250,000, they actually pay attention. Andreas or Patterson to start. Definitely got to be on Andreas on that one, mate. I don't see Everton keeping any type of clean sheet against Brentford. Andreas, he's on set pieces, potentially gets some kind of return against Arsenal. I'm looking personally to transfer out Haaland, mate, on the midweek fixture. I'm looking for, obviously, news, and I'm interested to see how many minutes Haaland plays against Palace. If he gets a reduced amount of time, then there's every opportunity where he starts and he gets at least half a game against Forest, in which case I might keep him. But to be honest with you, that's why, again, I'm rolling this week, I think, because he looks like he should be on the way out in Game Week 5. When was he flagged though, Keith? Because I'm not sure when he was flagged. That's what I mean. So if those 33,000 transferred him in prior to him being flagged as not playing, unless it was straight away, I didn't see, to be honest. But if they've done it, even if he's flagged as 50%, that is quite amusing. I saw Henderson as well went up in price, right? He's gone to 4.6 as a goalkeeper for Forest. Look, he was potentially on a list for me to start in Game Week 1, so I'm not knocking him. He's a fantastic goalkeeper, and it was arguably a pretty good save for the penalty, right? But just because of points scored, I think that's just what a lot of players do. They just see on who scored the most points, and because they don't really understand the game, they just bring them in, and it sort of messes with the value at the beginning. I think that's why as well, from previous seasons when I've played, you tend to find that the value is very, very volatile early on for players. And I think that's because so many players are playing more regularly. As we get towards the back end of the season, you find that price rises and falls happen a lot less frequently. And I think that's just because so many managers disengage with the content or the game, right? Yeah, Keith, I agree. And that's why I want to keep kind of a close eye on him, because if he plays 60 minutes against Palace and he gets taken off early, I think he might start against Forest as well. So it's a fixture gamble, really, where against Forest you'd expect them to absolutely wipe the floor with them. There's no disrespect to Forest, but they're just a different calibre. So do you waste a transfer on potentially KDB or someone else when Haaland's going to do damage, right? So that's I just think it's a wait and see until we see some more detail from press conferences. Start Bailey or Andreas. Who have Villa got, mate? I haven't even looked to West Ham. Yeah. Tomorrow it's West Ham. Okay, I'll probably start Bailey, to be honest. I think West Ham don't look great defensively at the moment, so why not? Keith, that makes more sense. Yeah, 30k bought him since flag. That's quite funny. Tempting wave, your bench is exactly the same as mine. Yeah, I mean, at this point, it doesn't matter really. That 4.5 forward could have been anyone. Obviously, Planger's now gone on loan somewhere, which is why he's red. But least value possible, mate, on that bench, to be honest. Worth doing Robertson to Williams and a 4.5 to Tony with 2 free transfers. I would have said yes last week, because now with Liverpool's fixtures, I'm not so sure, mate. I mean, look at this run. Bournemouth, Newcastle, Everton and Wolves in the next 4. Selling Robbo ahead of them, mate, I don't know. As opposed to Tony's, yeah? Who have Brentford got? They've got Everton this week. I mean, it's a very good fixture run. I think ultimately it just comes down to personal preference. Would you back the attacking returns and defensive returns from Liverpool, or do you think that Tony's going to continue his form all the way through up until potential, say, wild card on game week 9, or if you've already hit the button, then look at that run from 4 to 11. Yeah, if you've already wild carded, then maybe that's a good move for your transfers. What's my aim in terms of rank? I would really like, the highest I've been is 98,000, I think. Let me check. 94,000. And that was, these 3 seasons were just casual, right? 94,000 there, and then 180k last year, which I was very disappointed with. But COVID really screwed me up. Like at Christmas time, if you remember, there was like fixtures were just a mess, and it was forced me into using my free hit early when I didn't plan to, and then of course we got given another free hit chip. It was a bit of a mess. So if I can reach top 100k, fantastic, great. If I can reach top 50k though, now I'm starting to create content, I think that would be great for me. But we'll have to see, mate. At this point, I'm just enjoying the game and enjoying the content creation, really. So hopefully you are too, mate. Worth going Patterson to a 5.4 for a -4. As an isolated pick, I'm not so sure. Would you be starting Patterson against Brentford and you want to replace him with someone? Or what's the team structure looking like, bud? Patrick, but with rotating risks because of international games, a good bench may be worth it. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think with the international games, though, that's why I'm looking to wildcard it from game week 9 onwards, because ultimately I only need to see up until game week 8 in terms of, yes, there's some midweek fixtures in between that aren't obviously international related, but cups, Champions League and so on. But I think we can navigate them with just normal transfers. I think if we're smart in how we use them, then it shouldn't be too damaging. Jonas, thanks for the input. No problem, bud. I don't think necessarily rolling a transfer when you've got 2 free ones is a dumb thing to do. I actually watched, I think it was FPL Raptors video. He's in the same boat as you. He's literally looking at, I think, changing his forward. That's a 4.5 million. I don't know who it is. I can't remember who he's got. It's Greenwood or someone like that. And he's looking to change that to Stansfield. That's his free transfer. And then he's going to roll the other free transfer into game week 5. I don't think it's a dumb thing to do. If you've literally got no surgery to do in your team, don't do it. Don't force players out when there's unnecessary. Because look at this in this context, right? I'll paint the picture if you like. Robertson goes and gets 12 points today. Against Bournemouth. Are you going to instantly regret that transfer? Probably. If he goes and gets injured, then you know that next week you've got the free transfers to deal with the problem. I just feel like it makes more sense to carry them over into game week 5, especially with it being midweek. Tempting Wave currently on 1.5 mil. Very good, mate. And that's the thing, you'll find that there's probably about 20 points in, millions of ranks. It's hardly anything. It's one game week can swing your rank in a completely opposite direction, which is why I'm not reading too much into it. Patrick Coleman is risk for Patterson. Okay, he's back, is he? I don't know, though, because he has been playing quite well. We'll have to see what Lampard does, but that'll be interesting if his place gets reduced. Andu, no, I didn't, mate. I'm rolling for next week. I'm giving Mount and Saka one more week, to be honest. So, as mentioned, kind of transfer plans really from game week 5 onwards is something like this. I mean, we can have a little tinker around, right? There's no harm. So, looking at potentially Mount and Haaland, if Haaland is looking at a risk and De Bruyne looks great, then potentially I look at this. I look at downgrading Haaland to Tony and putting De Bruyne in for Mount. That's a potential route. It just gives me a great City attacking asset that maybe has a few more minutes, or in terms of more nailed on, let's say, for the fixture congestion. That's a possible route. So I'm rolling the transfer mainly for that reason, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with Haaland. He's not a guarantee out next week, and the same for Mount, but that's where my thinking is really. So I don't feel like this team needs any surgery. Have to start either Patterson or Andreas. So I would say then just start Andreas. Don't get rid of Patterson for a 5 point for basically a -4. It sort of doesn't. I don't think it makes sense. Potentially you could go with, let's say, Patterson to, I don't know, someone like Saliba. Got a favourable fixture this week if you really want. But again, remember, if you're taking the -4, then already you're down points. You need that clean sheet from Arsenal or whichever defender you bring in. So I just think, why not just play Andreas? If he scores 2 points against Arsenal, which is probably quite likely, then you've taken no hit and you've gained yourself 2 points. That's the way I look at it. Currently 100. Nope, already read that one. Have to start. Yeah, have 184 points as well, but took a -4. I don't think there's any harm in minuses. If you needed to make the surgery happen, then go for it. 5 minutes till deadline, guys. Again, make sure that bench order is right. Let's give it a little refresh just to make sure. Perfect. Andreas or Bailey? Bailey for me. I think West Ham have probably got higher chance of conceding than Arsenal. Looks like we've got a here we go from Fabrizio on Wesley Fofana. That's interesting. I think he dropped to 4.4 million as well. That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, 4.4. I mean, he could easily become an option. I know Chelsea have been a bit wobbly defensively, but we'll see. He could easily become an option as well at some point. Keith, it's good that they all play today. You can watch the Grand Prix in peace tomorrow. Yes, mate. Exactly that, bud. None of these one player playing on Saturday. Good luck to you as well, bud. I won't do a knee-jerk on Sunday, mate. I'll probably do, because it's bank holiday, obviously I'm not working on Monday, so more than likely I might combine a kind of transfer watch list reaction video on Monday evening. But yeah, definitely look out for it, mate. But thanks for joining the stream, bud. Good luck this week, mate. Where are we? 2 minutes. Any more last minute headaches? Anybody got any more questions? Benching headaches, transfer possibilities, throw them at me. Last few minutes. Yeah, Keith, because it comes thick and fast. Like I say, because it's bank holiday, I should be able to record probably a longer video. I'll try and combine a couple of bits together. So yeah, normally because I'm working, as most people know that watch the channel, it's sometimes a little bit difficult to create content quickly, but I should be able to do a couple of videos, if not at least one, on Monday to combine a couple of things to think about. One minute till deadline. Let's get another window up. Watching from Australia, 8 p.m. deadline. 8 p.m. deadline, eh? Damn. I'd love to visit Australia, to be honest. I mean, I've got a baby girl though, and my missus is pregnant as well, so a little bit difficult probably to fly that far with the family. But we'll see. Maybe one day I'll get over there. I do like the look of your country, except for the bugs and the insects, mate. That's the only problem. Keith De Silva first sub ahead of Andreas. That was my only decision. What a beautiful game week that is, eh? The hardest of decisions, and it looks like I think we're locked, guys. Let's have a look. Let's refresh. Nope, still in, still not locked. You got some time. 9:30 Man United versus Southampton. Well, enjoy the game, mate. Enjoy the game. I think, in terms of predictions, I'm going to have to go with, I think we may concede, but I think we win this game. I think we win 3-1, potentially 2-1, but I can't see us losing to Southampton, to be honest. I think that's going to be a good game. And yep, we're locked in, updating. I'll keep the team on screen though for anyone that's curious about it. At least it will go either way on paper. Yeah, and I think that's how I felt about last week as well, Keith. Right, so I just thought it was either going to be a magical week or a red arrow again. Basically, I was excited that I'd opted for Jesus over Salah, and then he goes and destroys me by 8 points, but. Again, I just think at this point it's nothing to go crazy over or knee jerk. Keith, are you a United fan as well, mate? No worries, bud. Thanks for watching the stream, mate. Good luck for the week. Hope it's that juicy green arrow, mate, that we all crave. Yeah, certainly. Then we need to win as well, mate. I think it's just I think that we've got to replicate that performance against Paul, right? That was phenomenal. That's the best I've seen us, for so long. Do you think we can replicate, what was it, 8-0? 8-0, 9-0 we won? Then I think if Bruno does some damage to them, I don't know if I can resist him. I think, to be honest, he might have to come into the thinking, right? If he's on, if Ronaldo doesn't play as well, and he's on penos, I think he could be the one. Oh, beautiful, mate, beautiful. Yeah, so when the Premier League started, really, isn't it, for that revenge period for you? I was born in '89, so I saw really. At the end of the day, I'm not going to lie. That's why I kind of grew up as a United fan. It's just because we were so dominant in that period, and when I was playing myself, it was just, I idolised players like Paul Scholes. I played in centre mid myself, and just what he did on the pitch was just magnificent. I couldn't support any other team. I just absolutely loved United playing through that period. Yeah, I agree, mate. I think this is a rebuild. I think I kind of took the first 2 games with a pinch of salt as well. Of course, I was upset that we lost, especially the 4-0 against Brentford. Right, that's not easy to swallow. But yeah, I think personally that we will improve under Ten Hag. I think his philosophies are great. I think we're slowly but surely learning that we need to remove some of the deadwood. Right, we need to get rid of all those players that were creating a bit of a toxic environment. Personally, my stance is that I don't think Ronaldo is very toxic. His body language from time to time is horrible, but to watch, I guess, because he is a legend of the club. But yeah, I think we'll bounce back this season, mate. I think we'll do well. Lookman, what do you think about CR7 wanting to leave? Why is the team trying to keep him? I think, to be honest, Ten Hag, right, if you imagine he's in a position where brand new manager, publicly he's obviously going to have to say Ronaldo's in my plans. Because if he turns around and says he's not in my plans, he's one of arguably the best players of all time. How can you say that as a manager that's just walked through the door? So that's step number one. So I'm not actually sure if the team are trying to keep him. I just think that by kind of, I don't know, let's say default, he has to respond that way to the media. And I think if Ronaldo wants to go, just let him go. His legacy has already happened at United. I'm sort of in the boat where I've been grateful enough and thankful enough to be able to watch him in his prime back when he played for us before going to Real. I think just let him go. You know, he put in some fantastic shifts for us last season. I'm happy for him to just leave, to be honest. I don't like all the noise around it. It disrupts the rest of the team's focus. And to be honest, if you take the Liverpool versus United game on Monday as an isolated, kind of talking point, United looked much better as a team with him on the bench. Bruno given the captaincy, look at what he did. There was no arms in the air. The body language was much more positive. It was just more exciting to watch. And yeah, Keith, I agree. I think he looks like a very exciting player, and I think with Ten Hag, it's a relationship that already exists. I was unsure actually on the Martinez signing, but you can see how aggressive he is as a centre back. I really like him. He really reminds me of Vidic. He really reminds me of how involved he gets. He's not scared of a tackle. He's very, very aggressive. Although he's small, I don't think it's going to hurt him so much. So I like already that signing, and I think Anthony's only going to make us stronger, right? Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. This is what I'm saying. He's an absolute, winner. He just at heart, he just wants to win, and I don't think there's any harm in that, right? And the way that the team performed last season, it's kind of no wonder that you could say he's thrown his toys out the pram a little bit, but so be it. It doesn't matter how he leaves. He's like I say, his legacy for me is not tarnished. I just think if he goes, that's finished. Champions League this year. I don't know, mate. That's a tough call. I think Haaland's going to make a massive difference to City, mate. I really do. I think that they've come short a couple of times. I hate to say it, but I think this might be their year, mate. I think this might be their year. Yeah, that's exactly my point, mate. I think that City just look dominant. They look great. It was question marks, obviously, over Haaland being introduced, right, as a number 9. They haven't played with one since Aguero, really. What are they going to do? Look at what they've done already. I just think it's he was a dominant force already in Europe for Dortmund, and he didn't have the likes of De Bruyne passing to him. So I'm sorry, but I just think it's a no-brainer for me that I'll go with him. So who do I think top 4? I think Arsenal break into the top 4 this year. I think they look great. I think Arteta's doing a fantastic job. I also think Spurs will probably make it again. I think City will be there, and I think Liverpool will be there. I don't think United are quite ready. I think Chelsea drop out of it, personally. I think we will still make top 6, arguably same for Chelsea, but I think that's kind of the obvious top 6, really. I just think Arsenal break into the top 4 this season, mate. Keith, I don't think he has. I think all the press have said it all. Hopefully, if he does. Yeah, I mean, look, if this interview happens, then potentially, right? It's maybe a truth-telling interview and everything gets revealed. He's basically come out and said, though, as in 99% of the media kind of posts or social media outlets, all these things have just lied. And I do hope that is the truth. But we'll see if the interview comes out. And if he stays at the club as well, I wouldn't be bad. I wouldn't be sad about it. I just think he needs to understand that he is probably going to be rotated a lot, right? Perfect, Keith. Exactly the same for me. City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Spurs. They're exactly the top 4 I would go for, mate. It's interesting with Chelsea because I think the sole reason for me why they drop out is that I would have put them in contention if they would have signed an outright number 9. I think Sterling was a great addition, and it looked like their transfer window was going to be really good, right? Koulibaly being brought in, in terms of a money club in the Premier League history, it's good to see that someone else has come in and bought them and kind of saved their bacon a little bit. And I felt their window was looking quite good, but just without a striker, you can see Havertz just hasn't got it, mate. He just isn't enough to be able to get them in, I don't think. Yeah, I agree. I think Newcastle and Brighton, I think, are going to be one to watch. Leicester and West Ham, I agree, look a little bit more damaged. I think they potentially just about break into the top half, but I think Brighton and Newcastle could easily get into 7th and 8th positions, if not higher, right? Lookman, Chelsea fan, want us to make top four. Not to make top four, sorry, Tuchel overrated. Look, I think, to be honest, Tuchel as a manager, we can't say, well, my personal view, of course, you probably watch more content and Chelsea overall, right? I think he is a good manager still. I just think he's made some bad decisions, that's all. But then, you know, that's what it's like as the life of a manager of a top club. You just, everything is magnified, you know, 100 times. That's the problem. But I think Chelsea will still do well this season, mate. I just don't think they'll get top four. Harry, I've captained Havertz. Mate, if you have, then best of luck. I just don't necessarily feel like Chelsea look that good with him, right? But hey-ho. Yeah, I agree as well, Keith, mate. The rest aren't putting a shift in. And yeah, I just think... Do you know the conversation between... I know this is not FPL related now. We've just gone into mainly United or football talk. But I'll stay on for another sort of 10 minutes or so. But... the whole greatest of all time conversation between Messi and Ronaldo. The argument for me is always Ronaldo is the person that didn't have he has natural ability, but he had to work for it, right? He wasn't the player that he is now until when he came to United. Ferguson built him the strength, the ability, you know, the decision making. Everything he did was mainly, you could say, built us in his time, right? Messi was more of a natural, it just happened. His talent just came out. And he was playing for arguably one of the best sides in Europe for a long time, right? But you're right, he put so much hard work in that I think it is sad to see that you know, other people are kind of, or other players aren't respecting that. And it will be interesting if he does say, mate, you're right. Yep, agree on Brighton, 100%. Sanchez is I thought, you know, it's a boring pick from an FPL point of view, right? I said it in kind of the drafts videos that I made in pre-season. I wish I went for a spicier pick like Henderson, really, because obviously he saved the penalty and, you know, other bits and pieces. But I couldn't see it. I think Potter has really now, after, 4 years he's been in charge, it's really starting to come to fruition for them. Right, Dog is telling... Okay, mate, good luck. Thanks for joining the stream again, Keith. Pleasure as always, mate. Imagine your starting forwards are Havertz, Mount and Sterling, Jorginho and Kante mid. This is the most average team. I mean, I would say that you know, Havertz is definitely, I'd say, below average. I do still like Sterling. I do think he's good. It's just maybe he was made out to be a better player than what he was because of the players around him. It'll be hard to tell, but it's hard to tell at this stage. I still think he's pretty good. The thing is, though, you've got the likes of Ziyech on the bench. You've got Pulisic that I don't think necessarily justify starting positions, right? But Tuchel needs to tinker a little bit, maybe more with the team. If at least from a midfield perspective, you haven't got the creativity to be able to put Sterling in behind or do something. Ziyech can score from the midfield. Pulisic can make a run in behind. I just feel like maybe it's time to shift the meta in terms of your team, right? But who knows? Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, right? The GOAT argument, going back to Ronaldo versus Messi, he's done it everywhere. Literally in pretty much every top league that's going, he's done it. But again, like I mentioned, the point I was kind of making, though, was Keith was talking about basically building the career on hard work, which is exactly what he's done. You know, he's in the gym all the time, he had extra training sessions. The guy's a machine. And just wait for his son, mate. Wait for his son. He's just going to be another... In fact, he's probably going to even be more disciplined than what Ronaldo was to begin with, because he's passing on all the information that he's learned over his career, right? He's 37 years old. He's played football for 18 years plus in terms of a professional term. It's just, I think his son's going to be outrageous. Yeah, I agree. He's not a key player for top four, but I think he would fit into Chelsea if they got their team right. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I'm glad you agree, because I don't really watch, like I say, much Chelsea. I only really watch content on YouTube relating to Man United for the most part. I don't tend to dabble with other teams. I only kind of listen, I suppose, to TalkSport occasionally or other pundits talking about other teams, right? But to be honest, that's why I've kind of put you out the top four this year, because I just think that there isn't enough mix up in the midfield or from a creative standpoint, and also no number 9, recognised proper number 9 at least. Yeah, that could happen as well, mate. I mean, he could easily fall into the trap of like, my dad's the greatest, I don't need to be. I can drive a Lamborghini at 16 years old and off I go, right? He might not put any hard work in. But from what I've seen of him in some of the youth clips, mate, he does look phenomenal. Z, the midfield is weak for us. Same tactics almost every game. Yeah, I mean, you really do miss Kante. I mean, to be honest, that guy is a machine. You know, to be honest, there's absolutely no fluke at all that Leicester won the league with him. He was absolutely phenomenal, and he has been for you guys as well. It's just he's an absolute ridiculous workhorse, isn't he? And I think against Leeds, this is where that 3-0 happened, because you just missed him. We've turned this into a Messi versus Ronaldo stream. Yeah, I mean, look, to be honest, both of them are hugely successful players. I mean, I'm always going to lean towards Ronaldo because I've got, obviously, again, his career at United was phenomenal. And I just think, like Tanoki said as well, I just think that because he's done it in so many leagues, so many different squads, he just showcases so much of his talent there. But anyway, I digress. Right, guys, where are we at? 11:15. So listen, thanks for tuning in to the stream. Again, really, really happy with everybody that's tuned in. Thanks for all the questions, the feedback, the comments. It's absolutely brilliant. Of course, as well, I'm glad that the technical issues have been solved this week. So if you tuned in last week, I'm really apologise for the stream, but yeah, I've made some setting changes and it seems to have worked. So great news on that front. But listen, best of luck for Game Week 4. Like I mentioned to Keith when he asked, I probably will be doing some kind of reaction stream / kind of watch list on Monday, more than likely, as it's bank holiday in the UK. So I've got a day off work. I'll probably be able to put out some more content for you reacting to the weekend. So best of luck this weekend. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel if you're new. It'd be fantastic to have you on board for the season. And of course, follow me on Twitter as well. It's that side FPL link. Yeah, I don't put out so much content on there, but I do tweet from time to time. So feel free to drop me a follow. And yeah, have a good day, everybody. Enjoy and take care. And I'll see you in the next video. See you later.